This is the RK96. Actually, it is the C96, a magnetic version of the R96 from Royal Kludge. This has the same 90% layout with a scroll wheel, mute button, and a wrist rest custom shaped for the body of the keyboard. I like that RK is going for their old designs and improving upon them. This way, if you've already gotten used to their old designs, then you can pick up the same units, but with magnetic switches capable of rapid trigger, and magnetic switch features such as SOCD, DKS, and mod tab. Actuation points are also adjustable on each key, allowing for very light presses to actuate the keys. This results in faster response time on a hardware level, but at the cost of connectivity. So yeah, this only connects via wired mode. Speed of response times, this has 8000 Hz polling rate, so it reports to your computer at 8000 times per second. Overkill. This means you get lower latency between the computer and your keyboard. I'm not sure about the scan rate of this keyboard, which is basically how many times the keyboard reads your input. Scan rates of standard keyboards are the same at about 1000 Hz. Overkill keyboards have up to 16,000 Hz. Yeah, just a little bit of context there. But anyways, hi, I'm Daniel with the Biboyharanero team, and we've been reviewing mice, keyboards, and audio gear since 2019. So consider subscribing and help me make more money. No, just kidding. Be updated with our videos. Now, back to the keyboard. The switches my unit came with are branded RK, and they look very similar to Gateron Jades. They have the same teal color and about the same spring weight of around 40 gram-ish. I couldn't find any information online, so this is just an estimate. I think the 40 gram springs within is perfect for this keyboard as a gaming keyboard. This will allow for switches to be pressed even with little effort. I don't know what switches are compatible on the PCB of this keyboard yet. If one of the switches break, you get some free switches in the box to replace them with. And with that said, yes, this has a 2-pin hot swap magnetic north-facing PCB. Now on to software. So I have here the software for the C96. Very similar to the software of the C87 if you've already watched that review. So at the left-hand side, you have the 4 configurations you can customize, and then you have the 4 main tabs. I mean, the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 main tabs right here. First main tab is lighting settings. You have the modes right here and some sub-tabs here to choose from more modes. And then moving on to performance setting, this is where you customize actuation points. Let's do that real quick. I click on select all. I move this down to 0.8 and I'm all good. You have rapid trigger settings right here. And then you also have dead zone settings here and also polling rate selection. This is where you do your calibration for your keys, and this is where you choose what switches are installed on your keyboard. Though it's written in Chinese, I would have appreciated it if this was written in English. Anyways, moving on to the next key, the custom key. This is where you do your key binding. I think it's worth mentioning that you can bind your mouse buttons onto your keys. Onto advanced keys, this is where you customize advanced magnetic features such as SOCD, DKS, and toggle key. Toggle key is basically a feature that allows you to just single press a key and it will hold it for you. Next, for DKS, this is one feature that I use on Assassin's Creed. So if I lightly press on W, the character crouches. If I full press on it, he'll sprint. So that's where DKS is really useful. And as for SOCD, this is snap tap. This is already very much self-explanatory. Let's set it up on A and D. So I'll drag A there, drag D there, click on save. So what this will allow you to do is just hold on A and tap on D. What this will do is it will allow a perfect AD transitioning, allowing your character to jitter around the map. But this is bannable in some games, so beware. Onto macro management, I tried recording some macro tests right here, and it doesn't detect your mouse clicks. Unfortunately, you also cannot insert mouse clicks onto your macros. What a bummer. The last tab is for updating your keyboard, the firmware, or maybe reset it. And that's pretty much it. If you have any questions, let me know in the comment section down below. Inside the box, you get the keyboard, cable, key puller combo, 4 extra switches, documentation, and the wrist rest. The wrist rest was a good addition, especially for those who are looking to get a more comfortable typing angle. Though I never got used to having a wrist rest on. The cable is generic and I think it would be able to output 8000 Hz polling rate. It's such a bummer. I don't have the tech to check this. Anyhow, the keyboard is fairly heavy compared to other 96% keyboards. And this is most likely because I do 100% believe that there is silicone padding underneath the PCB. Silicone dampers are the best, most dense type of dampers that absorb a lot of the vibration and hollowness of the keyboards. They also pack on some weight, which explains why this keyboard feels a lot more solid. Then with the inclusion of the aluminum positioning plate, this would also contribute to the heft of the keyboard. Looking underneath the keyboard, you get anti-slip rubber padding along with a pair of 2-level kick-up feet. The wrist rest also has anti-slip padding underneath, so it doesn't move around your desk. Looking at the top of your keyboard, you see the USB-C input is panned to the left top side of the keyboard. There are some rectangles that suggest that the keyboard could have been made along with the USB hub, but as a magnetic keyboard with 8000 Hz polling rate, it will be very difficult to do that due to data transfer limitations. That's all good though, and And overall, I think the keyboard's build is very good, with its tray-mounted structure and slight heft. Onto the keycaps. These have cherry profile double-shot keycaps made with PBT plastic. Cherry profile is my favorite profile due to its slightly flatter keys. I got used to laptop keyboards as a teenager, so transitioning into bulky keycaps on a mechanical keyboard wasn't entirely pleasurable for me. So cherry profiles is just perfect for this unit. Stabilizers are perfectly fitted on the plate as they very slightly move, but are still fairly tight. Stabilizer performance on the Royal Kludge keyboards are always very good. And it's also pre-lubricated, yet I still would advise to add more dielectric grease for more smoothness. Just not too thick, as it would start to feel mushy and sticky. Moving on to the switches, these have around 40-gram springs within. Reiteration on around, as this is just an estimate. They look like Gateron Jades, but they aren't, as branding shows RK. The top housing is transparent, which allows light to shine through well without any extra added coloration, which is the usual thing from colored top housings of switches. My ears are battling whether this sounds thocky, clacky, or hybrid. Here's a sound test and you decide. Onto aesthetics. I honestly do not know the colorways that this will be offered in. But anyways, the colorway that we have here, I think, is low-key. And it's not too over the top in terms of color combination. It's simple and it looks kind of professional and is like a hybrid between minimalist and non-minimalist. I also think this would suit a lot of PC builds, be it light or dark. And moving on, I do appreciate they went with a scroll wheel versus a knob. It allows for the keyboard to be a little less bulky on the top side. And scrolling it up and down feels really good. And it's very much similar to a mouse scroll wheel, which I think is the case because inside is the same scroll encoder found in a mouse. I think. I haven't confirmed that though, as I'm not gonna tear this down. You get branding at the front side by the right, and it isn't too obvious, so I think it's all good. Now, going back to the keycaps, on some of the keycaps, you will see subprints at the sides of the keycaps which show the alternate functions of the keys. Pressing on the function key and print screen will cycle through the RGB colors, while pressing on the function key and delete will cycle through the RGB modes. The light is fairly bright as it shines on the keyboard, and I love that they went with north-facing LEDs. If you're wondering about compatibility issues with keycaps, this is no longer the case, as modern keycaps now have longer stems. So issues with cherry keycaps on north-facing LEDs is nearly non-existent nowadays. On to light indicators. You get some indicators beside backspace and enter key for caps lock, numlock, winlock, and OS. Anyways, I think that's all. It's just super straightforward, and I don't think any other topic is worth making this review longer. Links will be in the description below on where to get your RK96. I mean, C96. Access those links as I earn a little bit of commissions from those links. Freely leave a comment if you have any questions and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Toodles!